Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Anna and welcome to Nature in Noma, virtual tools for discovering nature. We're going to talk all about iNaturalist today. And I want to thank our hosts, the Noma Bid, for having us here, having Capital Nature here to talk about iNaturalist. Let's get started. So a little bit about myself. My name is Anna Kahanui. I am the co-founder of Capital Nature, which is a local nonprofit in DC that focuses on getting people involved in cool outdoor activities. I'm also a Virginia Master Naturalist, a forest therapy guide. I'm on the regional leadership team for the City Nature Challenge, which I'll mention a little bit later. I'm also on the steering committee for the Washington Area Citizen Science Network. So I'm basically a nature nerd, nature geek. I'm originally from Honolulu, Hawaii, but right now I live in Burke, Virginia, in Fairfax County. So what is citizen science? Most people, when they hear that, they don't really know what that is. So let me just give a sort of simple explanation for it. It's also known as community science, and it's when curious or concerned people collaborate with scientists in ways that advance scientific research on topics they care about. So it could be on any topic. It could be on water, bugs, birds, you name it. It could be a scientific project on anything. Now, what is iNaturalist? iNaturalist is an app, a free app that is used for citizen science. So it's a tool that people use. And so you can do it in your backyard by yourself. You can do it with groups of people. This woman on the right is Melanie Chukas Bradley, a local naturalist and forest therapy guide and author of many books. And she is actually leading a tree tour at the Capitol grounds for people during the City Nature Challenge. So she's leading sort of a group initiative to use iNaturalist. And so you see everybody around with their phones. What is iNaturalist? It's a place where you can record what you see in nature, meet other nature lovers, so it's social, and learn about the natural world and contribute to science. Most people don't think that when you go out and take a picture with your phone, that you could be contributing to scientific research. And so that's what's really exciting to me. So with a smartphone, anybody, you, your kids, anybody in your family, you can go as a group. It's really easy to take a picture of something in nature, make sure that it's geotagged. So geotag meaning that its location of where you took that picture is noted on the image, and then that can be uploaded and shared on iNaturalist. And we'll go through how you do that. What's great about iNaturalist is that it works across all platforms. Most people use it on their phone when they're out and about. You can also take pictures with your camera and upload them to the desktop. You can use your iPad, and it's also compatible with Android and iPhone. I do want to note that the little interfaces when you're actually on the app just slightly different. They might have a different color button or a different word like upload or sync or something like that. It all works the same, but the two are slightly different. And those differences can be noted on the website, which I'll refer to later. So the first thing you'd want to do is you'd want to start create your free iNaturalist account. So you'd want to go to iNaturalist.org. You can download that from the App Store or Google Play. Sign in, create a username for yourself. It could be something fun. Mine's simply my name, which is kind of boring. And just you can get started, and we'll show you how you do that. So this is my account, for example, and so this is sort of my dashboard. And so this is showing me how many observations that I've made, how many species that I've identified, how many different people, how many things identifiers have helped me identify my stuff. And one thing I want to point out is if you see those little green flags that say research grade, it means that enough people, 2 or 3 people at least, have agreed on an identification. So it's basically crowdsourced species identification. So if you upload a picture to iNaturalist and you just know it's a bird, that's not a problem because there are enough bird experts around the world. There are over 1 million people using this platform globally. They can help you. They can see that that's a bird and they can make suggestions as to what it is. And if 2 or 3 people at least at a minimum agree with what the species has been identified or guessed at, then it becomes what's research grade. And that's what gets used for scientific research. So what is an observation? Very simply, it records an encounter between a person and an organism at any particular time and place. So it's just sort of like a quick screenshot. So it's me and this turtle at a particular place, which is Huntley Meadows, at a specific date and time. So it's time stamped. You can see here I took it on June 27th, and when I took it, shows a map of where I took it. I suggested maybe what I thought it might be, an eastern painted turtle, and there's someone in the area, this happens to be a teenager in Fairfax County who is a reptile expert. He has concurred with me that yes, this is an eastern painted turtle, and so because two of us have decided that that's what it is, it has become research grade. And so if someone else came along and said, no, Anna, that is not, that's a spotted turtle, then there could be sort of a debate going back on and it wouldn't be research grade anymore. And it has to be where people agree. So more than 2/3 agree. So again, an observation, it records who you are. So it's your account, what you saw, if it was a butterfly, when you saw it, the calendar date and time, where you saw it, it'll show a map, and we'll go over how the mapping and privacy works, and then evidence of what you saw. So a picture, it could be a sound if you're hearing birds or crickets. It doesn't always have to be a picture, it could be a video as well. How does iNaturalist work? Well, how does it help? How does it guess, what we're doing here? So basically uses artificial intelligence. And so 18 million photos have been ingested into the system. And if we take photos that are good enough for this artificial intelligence to recognize, they're going to be able to kind of make some guesses for us. And so that's how it works, just by process of comparing our images. So if you take a really blurry, fuzzy picture that's out of focus, it's not going to be able to come up with a match. So taking clear pictures from different angles and things, and we'll go over that, is really important. So the artificial intelligence allows the app to make recommendations. So if I took a picture of this violet, as soon as I take the picture and upload it and say, yes, accept this into iNaturalist, it's going to say, like, what did you see? And so it's going to give its top 10 guesses of what it could be based on the pictures. Now, if this was a really horrible picture, it might come up with some other recommendations. So again, it's really important that you have good pictures, but it's going to give you at least its top 10. Just because it gives you a top 10 doesn't mean this is one of your ones, but you just want to go with your gut. If you don't even know, if you think it's just a flower, you would just click it's a flower, and then someone else will come up behind you and identify it you don't have to feel like you need to know all the different species. That's the whole purpose, is for everyone to learn as we do this. So here's a sample. So here on the making an observation. So here is here's a flower picture that's been taken, pretty clear. You can see leaves, you can see the petals, you can see where it is on the ground. If this picture wasn't good, your phone will say to you, are you okay with this? Do you want to retake it? So you could retake it if it wasn't a good picture. Moving over, see this plus sign, if you put a plus sign here, you could add more pictures. So you could take a picture of the leaves, you could take a picture of any seeds, where it is, close-ups, faraways. You can add as many pictures, and that's really important for identification, because if a flower expert looks at this and this is actually fleabane, and there's all different types of fleabane, if you take pictures that show the petals and the leaves, that will help with an observation and a species ID. And again, this is all the information that's being provided when I take that picture, the time and date, the location, and geoprivacy. We'll get to that in a second. Captive cultivated, whether or not it's a wild thing or something that's been grown like in your garden or like a pet or something, and I'll discuss that again in a few, but you can note that here. And so once I've done my observation, I've hit share, it goes into the system. The first thing it says is, here are suggestions. And so then I can look and decide which one of these I think it might be, and I can just click on it, and then it'll just be with my observation that I've thought it's fleabane. And you upload that to iNaturalist. So geoprivacy, there's 3 different sort of levels of geoprivacy. If it's open, that means anybody can see it. They know exactly where that was taken. If you're doing some observations in your backyard, for example, and you don't want people to know where you live, you could put mark obscured in your geoprivacy. These are all in the settings of the app that you'll see. And so it's just kind of like a general area around the spot. And then private is completely hidden, no one else can see it. And if you don't know what you're taking pictures of and you want help from others, you can't use private, because the people are going to need to know where it was. They need to know if it was a salamander in New Mexico or a salamander in New England. So I don't recommend location private, unless sometimes people, like if they see something that's an endangered species, like a bald eagle or something, they might want to do private because they don't want poachers or hunters to come by. So that's why private would be used. So when you're looking on your maps on iNaturalist on their website, they have all these pins of all these different colors, and they all mean things. So you can get a sense of you know, the blue ones are like other animals, which is a large group of mammals, birds, reptiles, and things. Fungi are pink, plants are green, and this is sort of just to give you a sense of sort of the biodiversity in your area. If you were looking at a map of your neighborhood, for example, you would see all these different colors and pins of things that have been observed around you. So this is, oh, the desktop feature is, so there are things that you can do on your phone, but you can do a lot more when you log in onto a desktop. There's so many different, it's a very robust tool where you can join groups, you can keep journal entries, you can favorite some of your entries. There are projects, so basically there are iNaturalist projects all over the world that, you know, if you decide you want to join a global bird project, so every bird that you observe goes into a particular project, you can do that. So there are all these different things. You can look at your observations, you can look at the calendar of when you went to different places. And so there's just all this information about your usage of iNaturalist, as well as interacting with others. So for example, it's a social network. So I could go and follow some of my friends. If I knew their username or their name, I could go look them up and I could follow. I have a friend named Sarah Nella, who she's a mushroom expert. So I could follow her and see what, so that it would pop up. I would get notifications when she made different observations on things that I'm interested in. So it's a very social network, and the desktop features have all of that information. So what to observe, where to start? I would start with things that you love. I love taking pictures of mushrooms, butterflies, birds if I can catch up with them, dragonflies and such. So it is really simple. If you're outside taking pictures of butterflies and wildflowers and mushrooms anyway, that's where you should start with iNaturalist. Simple as that. What are you noticing? I mentioned earlier in my introduction that I am a forest bathing guide, which means experiencing nature very slowly with all your senses. And one of the key questions that we ask in forest bathing is, what are you noticing? When you slow down, what are you noticing? And I noticed in the spring, I just noticed all these little baby leaves coming out. And I just loved looking at how furry they were and how tiny they were, and all of these little sort of details that you kind of miss if you don't slow down. So those are the type things that you notice. Those are the types of things that you want to try to observe and add to iNaturalist. Some things are really easy to ID. For example, on the left, this is a picture of a tulip tree, and those leaves are not like any other leaves. So if anyone took a picture, a decent picture of one of those leaves, iNaturalist would know in 100% that that is a tulip tree. If it was just a regular sort of ovally kind of leaf, that's a little harder. You know, you have to get more information to help with identification. But a tulip tree, super easy. On the right, a sweet gum pod. So this is a seed pod from a sweet gum tree, and which is one of my favorites, very easily identifiable. I carry one in my camera bag for when I'm demonstrating iNaturalist. Easily, I can just pull it up, pull up the app, open it, show it, and show people how easy it is to identify. Some things are easy to photograph because they don't move away from you, such as flowers. Here we have some Virginia bluebells that I took at probably Teddy Roosevelt Island. And then on the right is probably one of my favorite iNaturalist observations. It's not a super clear picture, but it is a zombie fly fungus. And so basically it is a fungus that has invaded the body and controlled the body of this fly and killed it and made, I know it's very morbid, I apologize, but anyway, it's just this symbiosis relationship between these animals, but I just thought it was the coolest thing, this zombie fly. Other things not so much are not so easy to capture, so that takes patience. So for example, I love to photograph dragonflies and damselflies, and they're pretty quick. And so what you start to learn when you stop and observe for a while patiently, you notice that they have certain behaviors. And dragonflies, for instance, like to perch like this. They perch in different positions, either horizontal or up and down, which is called obelisking. And you know that you'll notice that they'll go to a perch and then they'll fly away for a second and they'll come right back. So if you just kind of fixate yourself on this particular perch and this guy is sitting there, you'll try to take a picture, and if he flies away, you know he'll probably come back in a few seconds. So you can just watch. So you'll get to know some of the behaviors. Same with birds. The birds are hard to get sometimes. They're kind of all over the place. So it just takes a lot of patience to try to kind of just, the more you're quiet and calm in observation, they'll get a little more comfortable with you and they'll probably settle down a little bit. Wild versus captive and cultivated. So I mentioned when you're making observations that there's a little marker where you have to check if it's captive or cultivated. And what that means is it is not a wild thing. My dog Lonnie here, she thinks she's a wild animal sometimes, but she is not wild. She is a domestic dog. So if I took a picture of her for iNaturalist, which I probably wouldn't, I would mark her captive cultivated. Same with this bonsai plant or this slipper orchid from a botanical garden. These are things that were grown by others. They weren't grown in the wild. And so that just changes the way they look at the research applications of the observation. So the preference is to get things that are in the wild. You can upload pictures of any signs or remnants of nature. So it could be bones, skulls, skins, a piece of something, a feather, poop, which we call scat, nests, burrows, footprints, cocoons. All of these things are, if you can take pictures that are good enough to upload where people can kind of make some assumptions based on where you took them and such, this can help with an identification of a species. So even evidence of life is also a verifiable thing that you could put on iNaturalist. So let me give you a few tips for observing. You want to get really close so that you can get the details. It's good to get a picture that's kind of far away that shows the sort of the bug or the item in or the species in context. This is on a log here. But if you get close, you're going to get the details. And sometimes you can't get all of a species in focus. So maybe take one from the back so you can get some of those back colors and ridges and stuff. And then maybe kind of try to get around on the other side and get the face, because that's also very easily helps you to identify things. Focus is super important. So you might have to take a couple pictures until you get one that works, but it'll be a lot easier for people using iNaturalist to look at your picture and help out with identification if you have a picture that's in focus. Also, you want to kind of select what you're taking a picture of. You don't just want to hold up your camera and hold it up to a bunch of trees and then upload it to iNaturalist, because people aren't going to know what you're trying to identify. So kind of the closer, you have to make sure that people kind of understand what you're looking at. If you took a picture, let's say this picture on the left and it had 3 different plants in it, yeah, you could upload that, but you would want to put it in the notes. I'm trying to get identification for the middle flower, just so that people will know what you're trying to get identified. Separate your subject if possible. It's nice to have background. Sometimes I carry around a piece of paper that I can put behind something so that if you want to kind of single it out so your camera can really focus on it, or if you can get a good background depending on just how you rotate your camera on yourself, that'll help with kind of isolating the details. Here's another example of detail, just getting really close to the dragonfly. This is going to really help people identify it, and same with the turtle. Also different perspectives. Get down if you can, if it's safe, and get down on their level rather than shooting down on top of things. Like for example, on mushrooms, a lot of people just take a picture down of a mushroom, and that's not super effective for mushroom identification. And we'll talk about that in a second, but try to get different perspectives. It's great to work with others. Have someone else hold the item. You know, if you're working with a family, perhaps one of the children could grab the item and hold the item while you take the picture. I do want to note that iNaturalist users do have to be 13 years or older to have an account. So it would be a teenager or older that would be having the account, but kids can still definitely participate in identifying things to bring to upload to iNaturalist. Couple tips and reminders. If you're out in the forest or anywhere in your parks, you want to make sure that if you like turn over a log or turn over some leaves or something, that's probably somebody's home. So you want to put it back, and you want to put it back gently. It's good to bring a phone charger, especially if you plan on doing sort of uploading and things while you're in the field. You can also, there's a setting where you can make it so that you don't upload where you are, but it'll save everything in your phone until you get home onto a wireless account, and then you can upload everything at once. So you don't have to do it exactly at the same time you take the picture. Bringing a ruler or a coin for scale is really helpful. Like I took a picture of this little frog recently that was so tiny that I think I put like a dime next to it or something. Having a mirror is really cool, especially for taking pictures of mushrooms, because you really need to get the underneath of a mushroom to get a good identification on it. A hand lens, which is also called a loop, for seeing things closely. That's kind of like a magnifying glass where you can get close. Flashlights, like sometimes you kind of can't see all the different nuances or details details of something, but if you shine a flashlight on it and then take the picture, you might get some more details. And as I mentioned before, if you hold a piece of white paper or cardboard or something behind it, let's say if I was a branch with a bunch of leaves on it and I just wanted to get this one leaf, I could put something behind it and it will help me isolate the subject. So here's some of my favorite things to observe. Trees and shrubs, love them. And it's really important when you're doing observations for trees that you get all these different types of pictures. You need, on the right there, you need like a picture of the whole tree. It means you have to stand back. You need to, because the shape of the tree, the way the branching happens, all of this is indicative of an identification. Getting the bark is really important. Getting the leaves is really important. And especially both sides of the leaf. If the top of the leaf is green and the bottom of the leaf is brown, like that's important. Or how the different veins in the leaves show, and if there's any seeds or any other pods or things, acorns, things that are with that tree, all of these things are going to help someone give you a positive identification. Mushrooms, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Taking identification, you have to get underneath to either show the gills or the spores of a mushroom. And so as you can see, we've turned the mushroom over so you can see those gills. Butterflies, getting them, most butterflies look different from the side and from the top. So if you can get a top with their wings open and with their wings closed on the sides, getting their bodies, their antennas and things, all these are going to help with identification. Dragonflies and damselflies. I had mentioned before, the one in the center picture, this guy is obelisking, which means that's the way that he likes to perch. He's upright like an obelisk rather than being horizontal. And so taking pictures of the wings, of the body, of the abdomen, of the face, all of these are really indicative. And then on the picture on the right are damselflies, and actually they're about to mate. So you can see a male is holding the female by her head and he's going to bring her up and they're going to mate. So I thought that was an interesting picture. So looking at their behaviors is really important too. Birds. In birds, there's such thing called dimorphism, where males and females are usually different colors. Take, for example, these mallard ducks. The boys usually have the bright green heads and the females are brown. The reason that is because the female's brown so that she's kind of less noticeable when she's guarding the nest. So she can kind of be in the brush and things and nobody will notice her. So that's a protective measure. Cardinals are the same way, cardinal flowers. So the boys are a bright red and the girls are more subdued tan brown. So that's dimorphism. So these are things that when you're taking pictures of birds, those types of things, if you capture them in pictures, will help people identify them. And then on the right here, we have a great blue heron at a lake near my home, and I was watching him hunt. So just watching their behavior and see what they do. And there's a place to put notes in iNaturalist. So you can say like, I was observing this one fishing and it caught a fish or something like that. So just, you can add any notes for others. What's a BioBlitz? So a BioBlitz is when you get a whole group of people together to create a species list for one particular area or place, or a specific species. For example, I've done a BioBlitz just on dragonflies, where I've gone with 30 other people around Reston for an afternoon, where all we're trying to do is try to find as many different species of as dragonflies as possible. Or it could be a district like Fairfax wants to know all of the species of birds in that district. So they'll do a BioBlitz, and it just helps you get everyone out, everyone's participating to contribute data. So that's what a BioBlitz is. And BioBlitzes that I happen to take part in is called the City Nature Challenge. It happens every spring. We had to be virtual this year, but it was a very successful year just because everybody was kind of at home and outside near nature, near their homes. So in every April, they have the City Nature Challenge, and that's basically a global challenge where people are making observations all over the world. This year we had 244 countries participate. You can even document the species in your backyard. So one of my friends, Carrie, she basically has made all of these observations just in her backyard because she wanted to know what kinds of insects she had, what kind of plants she had, both things that were planted by her and also that were sort of wild and weeds and things. And that's a good way. It's a private project that she has on iNaturalist to keep track of what's in her yard. So what happens with the data and why does it matter? All of these data points go into a scientific database and they're shared for research and observation. And the main, the California Academy of Sciences and National Geographic, they're the ones that founded iNaturalist, and they share this information with an organization called GBIF, which is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. And so it's this huge international network where people submit all these data points and then people use it for research. Also, the data that we all collect with our iNaturalist observations can be mined to track ranges, phenology, and more. What is phenology? It's the study of the timing of biological events in plants and animals, such as flowering, leafing, hibernation, reproduction, and migration. And so here's an example of a trout lily, which is a local spring flower that we have. And what they noticed over the years is when it flowers, it's flowering earlier now. And so that has to do with what's going on with the climate. And so by us submitting all these observations, they're able to look at trends. Are birds not migrating as far north as they used to? That type of thing. So all this is really important for us to kind of help out the biodiversity. You can visit the iNaturalist.org website for lots more information. This was just sort of a surface level introduction. They have tons of simple and short video tutorials, minute, 2 minutes long. You'll find there the differences between an iPhone and an Android, depending on which one you use. Lots of questions. And like I said, using the desktop tool is a really robust way to kind of explore and see other observations from other people, see your dashboard, etc. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is there is a companion app to iNaturalist, and it's called Seek. And it was originally designed for families, but everybody uses it. And it's also a free app. And basically what's great about it is you don't even have to take a picture and upload it to start to get an observation, a guess. And so if you look at this monarch thing here, picture, basically all this person is doing is holding the phone over the monarch, and these green dots are starting to identify it by all the way up to the species level. So if it gets all the way to the right here, it means that they've identified it as a monarch. And so the person you don't even have to take a picture. So you could take a picture and then you could submit it to iNaturalist. So that's kind of a cool thing. So that's another, it's like a simpler sort of interface. So you might want to start with Seek and then move on to iNaturalist. And so it tells you about it, whether or not it's native, where it is. It gives you a map and such. And then the other fun thing about Seek is it gamifies things. It gives you challenges and badges. And so you could earn your bug badge or your tree badge. And so it's fun for families. And I've even done I've done the tree badges and stuff like that. So it's really fun. So that's basically sort of iNaturalist in a nutshell. We call it iNatting, so thank you very much for this time, and happy iNatting. My iNaturalist handle is Anna_Kahanui, which is my name. So if you're interested in seeing any of my observations, feel free to go there. My email is also there. Again, I'm with Capital Nature, a local nonprofit. So just definitely check us out for all kinds of citizen science events in the area. Thank you so much.